Welcome to the Channel Chat podcast. Hello, I'm Marc Sumner, host of the Channel Chat podcast show, and today I have the privilege of Craig Gordon, Sales Director of Vuzion Cloud, in the house. How are you doing, Craig?
I'm very well, Mark. Thank you for asking. Cheers for inviting me on.
No, my pleasure. Well, actually, asking you on, I got the demand from the channel. There was like 3 or 4 people actually said to me, get Craig on. So no pressure, Craig, but the listeners have been demanding you to come on. So we'll see how we go. Now, first of all, before we kick off, I noticed, and I was unaware of this until one of my colleagues told me that you won CRN Distributor of the Year last year, sub 250 category. So tell me about that. How you got into that?
Yeah, I mean, that was great for us. Really chuffed. Been working for years. I mean, we're quite a new company, right? We're in our 5th year. So it was great to be recognised by CRN for that. The feedback we got from CRN on the night and from people afterwards was around the depth and the quality of our offering to support our customers, or in effect the channel. So growth, education and technical support primarily are the 3 main factors.
And so for those of the channel listeners that don't know your company, could you give us a flavour of what Vuzion do?
Yep. So we're cloud only, big Microsoft house. We deal with around 22 vendors in total, but cloud only distributor, born in the cloud. We were born out of a hosting business. So our background, our pedigree is look after living, breathing things and make them better forever, if you like. So it was quite easy for us to adopt that into a distribution model and repeat what we've been doing for years and been successful in, and try and encourage the same with others, really.
Yeah, okay. And so, give us an example of something like the customers you deal with and the offerings that you give to them.
So most of our customers, most people who choose to work with us, either fall broadly into 2 categories. They're either managed service providers, and we deal with a fair few in the mid-market space, as well as a fair few in the SMB space, or ISVs. There's resellers in there as well, and there's some system integrators, but primarily the customers we're dealing with are managed service providers and ISVs. And we help them in 4 ways. So we can help them grow their business, which is number 1 ask for most people in the channel, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We can help them skill their staff. When I say help, I really mean tell them off and encourage and poke and push sometimes. But so invest in the people, get themselves up, their own teams up to speed. And whilst they're doing that, we've got, I think I prefer to describe it as like a safety net of services and skills that they can lean on us if they've run out of capability or capacity. And we sort of wrap all that round with a bit of automation and intelligence with some of the toolings and systems we've got. So we try and make it really easy for people to get better themselves, rather than doing it for them, which we can do. But my preference is we'll help you get your team up to speed, both from a sales and marketing and a technical perspective. Show you how to do it, and we've got the data and facts and figures to back that up.
And this is year 5 of the business, is that right? Yeah. So give me, obviously the world's gone nuts over the last 12 months. So give me what's happened for you and how you've adapted in the last 12 months.
It's been a tough one. From a business perspective, it's not impacted us in a negative or a positive way in reality. So we're sitting around 70% year-on-year growth. It's pretty consistent that for the last sort of 3 or 4 years. That's driven obviously from some of the good managed service providers and ISVs we work with. Primarily, it's all of our customers driving that growth, and we're just helping a little bit is the way I prefer to think of it. But this year, the biggest challenge in reality, true across the whole channel, I think, you've got people working at home, you're managing a remote team and trying to do everything virtually. So trying to keep that sort of team camaraderie, if you like, together, the ethos and stuff has been challenging for all of us, right? So a lot of movement in the channel this year.
Yes, but as a business, you're promoting the sale and the adoption of cloud services. How easy was it for you to adapt from home working as a business? Was it seamless?
Unplug on day 1, plug in day 2. The tech was easy. I tell you what, the hardest thing was chairs.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I'm fortunate enough. I've got an office space at home. Right, I'm not in it today. I'm actually in our office, but we did have people working on kitchen chairs and wooden chairs and stuff. So actually, it was more around the employee comfort and the safety of working with height adjustable monitors, comfortable chairs, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But the tech was simple for us. We're a cloud only organisation ourselves, so like the device I'm on right now, if it died, blew up, etc., I can purchase a device from anywhere, log in, and I'm working.
Yeah.
With the appropriate security control and governance and stuff. So we do eat our own dog food.
So with so you mentioned obviously some of the challenges there around sort of like chairs, desks, comfortable working environment at home. How did you manage that from a company perspective? Did you get the new chairs, or how did you actually deal with that?
Again, very boring answer this. So I came into the office, we sanitised absolutely everything, and we arranged secure pickups in 15-minute slots in reality. So there's 3 of us in the building. We recorded what assets people take. These are worth money, they're assets. We're not a massive organisation, so we need to track. If Mark and Craig turned up, what do they remove from the office? Etc. We then allowed people to take whatever they needed at home. Then we did another section of that a few weeks later as well, as to catch up with anyone who wasn't sure at the start, but then thought suddenly I need this later.
Yeah. And what's the best thing you've learned about the business over the last 12 months? There's loads of people having struggles with deployment at home, and you said home working situations, or rejigging their office. But what have you learned about your company for the last 12 months? Yeah,
biggest thing for us is I guess you lose some of our benefits. We've got a really nice office. We're on the edge of a golf course. We've got our own plenty of parking, all of that nice stuff. Great coffee machines. Well, suddenly they're not as important, right? When you work at home. So all of those soft benefits we put into the physical location as well. So food. We generally have pizzas once a week. All that kind of stuff in the office. We're about 100-person business, so we can do these sorts of things. All of that goes out the window. And I'm sat at home in the same location, doing the same kind of role that I could do at other organisations as well. And, a lot of our customers, like I said, there's been a lot of movement in the channel, mergers, acquisitions, and people moving around, etc. This year, and it wasn't a surprise, but it was a difference. So,
because Craig, there's a lot of people I speak to in the channel talk about moving from a VAR to a service provider. We actually did a white paper this week, and it's actually coming out. So we've had a lot of data about people desperately wanted to go from a tin shifter. I know they don't like the term, but tin shifter over to service provider. And obviously your company would assist in that. What is the main challenges of them moving and making that transition into a cloud provider when they've been a box shifter for the last sort of 15, 20 years?
There's probably 2. Number 1 is bonus commission structure plans. They need to be ripped up and replaced, and that can cause concern with sellers, right? And particularly, most VARs pay people on margin contribution, gross profit, whatever you want to call it, and they're used to potentially selling something up front, make £5,000, pay them X% from that. Moving into a service provider, quite often you're going to be looking at reoccurring business. I mean, it's great for us. 99% of our business is on monthly reoccurring.
Fantastic.
Profit. Yeah. Our finance director plays golf a lot, is all I'm saying.
Brilliant.
His name's Michael Alpin, if you ever. So look, we wake up. It's a great model once you've made the transaction. Like I said, we've always come from that model. Me personally, I've come from a VAR model myself from previous employment. But the biggest number 1 thing is getting your sales structure, your commission structure, and across the whole business, so bonus plans, etc., aligned to the new model without financially losing the individuals losing out, if that makes sense. Number 1. And the second thing is making sure this is no longer a transactional sale with maybe a support contract behind it, which is quite common.
Break the next sort of
our world. Here's my thing, and then we'll support you afterwards. Here's a support contract. This is a ever-changing, evolving beast. There was over 200 changes in Office 365, for example, last year alone, and that's commodity item or seen as a commodity item in the channel. Who's managing that change? Who's making sure the customer gets value out of it continually? And that needs to be the service provider. So you tend to see you need to boost up the service delivery function in the organisation significantly.
Right, yeah.
And it's not, my honest opinion, it's not really that hard to do. It's hard to manage the change.
Yeah. How do you mentioned about commission structures and stuff and affecting sellers. How do you go about making that change initially? Because they must be very much skeptical about actually making their money or keeping their money, especially if they've been paid on a GP number. So tell me about how you made that change or how you implemented it in your business.
Yeah, well, in ours, we didn't need to because we've come from this world. But again, we helped a lot of organisations move into this model. And the simple and honest answer is there's no easy way of doing it. The company will either lose money initially in that transition by, if you like, overpaying out of the profit they're making in that fiscal month or calendar month. But you'll get the gain back very, very soon. And you've really got to go into quite a bit of detail. So it's really what percentage of GP are they paying? What's a typical sale? What's their typical customer size, typical projects, etc., and how do you match that from I'm making X thousands of pounds on this deal up front or X hundreds of pounds to I'm now making 20 pence, 30 pence, 50 pence per user for potentially the next 10 years. So in simple business terms, you're either going to, if you like, lose money at the start of that sale to keep the sales commissions up to what they're familiar with, and not just sales, is marketing and tech people as well. So you either need to move slightly that way, which has a negative on the business's, EBITDA, etc., or you've got to do a really, really good job of positioning that you're, instead of earning hundreds, thousands of pounds in one go, you're now going to be earning 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70,000 pounds every month, but that goes up every single month. So it really depends on what the VAR wants to do. It's simple model, but I've modelled this out for about 100, 200 organisations, and we can always find the right answer. So,
yeah. So why would it? So when the VAR comes to you, what's the sort of the main rebuttals that you get when they want to make that transition? So they're looking in the market, they're thinking, look, I want to migrate to do more cloud services and more service offering and have run rate business. Every VAR wants that, but they might not be willing to do it. So what's the main rebuttals when they come to you or you go to them and they talk about making that transition?
Yeah, so the first thing we ask them to do, in effect, is we need to get everyone in a room, all of the key influencers / decision makers, so and create what we describe as a healthy argument, or what I describe as a healthy argument. So, you need a finance person, usually a technical person or an operations person of some description, and a commercial person of some description. So typically in a typical VAR, that will be the board or the directors or the leadership team, but it doesn't have to be. And you almost got to do a bit of a SWOT analysis. Where are you now? Where do you want to get to? And what are the gaps? Like I said, those gaps can seem insurmountable when you first look at them, but there is always a path, and it's just managing them through that kind of risk. Did that answer the question, Mark?
Yeah, no, it does. It does. So what would you say, you mentioned earlier you had 70% growth or experienced 70% growth. Now, most companies, that would be only dreamland for them. What are the plans for the business over the next 12 months?
So we got the similar for us. It's kind of more of the same. We're going a bit deeper in terms of our service offering, so improving those. And one of the things we learned most, I guess, over the last 5 years, rather than just this year, was everyone in our business is incentivized against the reviews of our customers.
Right.
Everyone. So interaction points, and I'm talking even technical support tickets. Sellers in my organisation can lose or gain money based on the review of our technical support.
So it's purely service-led business.
Yep. So why? Because we can influence what your expectations should be, so we can make sure that it's articulated correctly, and vice versa. We've put the same thing in for the technical people to kind of go, look, we're going to pay you more, or you've got the ability to pay more if you influence the sales piece. So we've really joined up those two organisations, so everyone's fighting towards the same thing. Yeah. With the same KPIs, same objectives, that kind of stuff, and that's been a big piece for us. But those customer reviews are driving that. So we continue looking at how do we improve our service? How do we help make our customers better? And what are the bits we're not as good at? And how do we make those better? So that drives a lot of our decision making for how we direct the business. And do we focus more in this area, that area, or this area? So we're very, very data driven.
How does the sellers get on with that? Because they must be sometimes a bit put their nose out of joint actually if they get a bad review and they lose money. Is it quite challenging to keep them motivated with that?
No, it's in making sure. For us, it's about, like I said, we've not got. You need consultative sellers. You need people who generally believe in what you're doing, and they need to be in it for the long run. In effect, so we're not looking at a really aggressive, bash out telephone calls type person in our organisation. It's more around how do you look after and care and help these businesses grow for a long time. So as long as you're attracting the right people and you've got people who believe in your business as a VAR or an MSP, it works really, really well. Because again, we put a swing on that, so you can actually earn more. As it currently happens, we've got a net promoter score of 92 in the last calendar month, and since forever is over 90, which is in the top 1% of IT companies globally. So
fantastic.
So we and personally, I joined IT to make it better because it's a pretty complex industry. I didn't work in IT and had really poor delivery myself, running restaurants. But this is ridiculous. I'm going to try and join that industry and make it easier to consume and work with. Yeah. So it's driving that quality of engagement. You need to be really believing what you're doing as an individual and make sure that you're lining up with the right organisation is what I think.
So that must make, quite an intense culture and a really good culture to work in. Now, because we're not working from offices now, how have you tried to maintain that culture around service-led for the customer?
So we do it through, very data-driven. So we do it through bonus plans, KPIs, objectives across the team. That's the mathematical answer to it, in effect. The really challenging bit is again keeping people virtually motivated. I think there's a few adverts out in the media at the minute around being a virtual what do you call it, a zoo, how you sort of being a comedian, if you like, how you keeping people motivated, excited, and there's no simple answer, right? It is more difficult. People aren't as motivated. We have lost a little bit of that with this remoteness, but we just do our best to keep that on top of things, really. So
how have you turned it from a recruitment perspective? Have you sort of taken anyone in the last 12 months? Because I've noticed, obviously, I run the Channel Chat show, but we're a recruitment company as well. We've noticed that people obviously haven't been interviewed face to face; they've been doing it over Zoom. But it's still quite hard getting them inducted into the culture if they join. How have you managed to do that if you've taken anyone in the last 12 months?
Yeah, so we've added about 14, 20 people into our organisation literally since January. Again, there's been a lot of movement in channels, so I guess how we do that is quite often I'm bringing in people from outside of the IT industry. So I'm looking at people who've worked in services industry, who care about what they're doing and are excited about helping other people, if you like. That's impossible, trying to teach them everything about the channel and then about the products and the services. And our customers are going to be phoning us expecting us to know all those answers. So that is really, really difficult. How we've actually dealt with that is in reality, we're doing face-to-face interviews, very COVID safe in this office. Fortunate enough, like I said, to have quite a large office. We have a small percentage of our business working from the office still. It's essential for us to do that because we cannot do all of that training remotely. Yeah. So around 20% of our organisation are now actually working from the office and have throughout this period.
Oh, okay, great.
We've got the technology to work from home. We need them to be together from a training perspective, really, Mark. So it was difficult to manage that. But
do you think your culture has been affected because of working from home, or has it potentially been enhanced because you're working more collaborative?
I'd say both. I'd say there's been some negatives and some positives. It's helped me be a bit more disciplined with my timekeeping because I'm appalling. because you've now got to put catch-ups in slots in your calendar rather than wandering around chatting to people, if you like. So it's helped me from a discipline perspective, personally.
Okay.
But yeah, you lose sight of that, the chat, and actually quite common. I mean, we call it office banter, if you like, but that piece isn't as strong as what it used to be for obvious reasons. So, yeah.
It's been International Women's Week this week, and there's lots of initiatives out there. I was interested in what's the sort of the gender balance in your business, and what do you think the tech industry needs to do to attract more women into our industry? Because it's a massive subject that's been going on.
I completely agree, Matt, and I'm really passionate about this subject as well. So this year in Vuzion, we've actually got a 50-50 recruitment ratio with male versus female.
Very good.
Unbelievable. So for me, we struggled with this. The first few years, I had no female people apply for any role that I had advertised. So our first sort of 10, 20 roles that we recruited were all blokes, in fact, all middle-aged as well, pretty much. So middle-aged guys in the UK, God, that's like the IT sector, right? They're the same hairstyle as you and I, Mark. So
yeah,
it was a challenge. So we looked at everything. I looked at the language we had on our role profiles, what recruitment agencies we were using, and are they making sure they're doing the right kind of things. Personally, I went to lots of women in tech events. Whenever we were at large IT shows, I would always look out for those sessions just to see if there's different things that I haven't considered, things that we've not thought about. There's, again, from what we're seeing now more females apply for roles, but like I said, they're from outside of the sector.
Yeah.
Again, one thing I will highlight, again, it's got to be careful how we word this without sounding sexist in a way, but the sales cycle now, the customer journey of where do I choose where to buy from, more of that is being delivered from marketing than sales.
Yeah.
Marketing in any sector is the other way around than IT in effect. So it's heavily female and IT heavily male. So what we're finding is we're expanding the marketing and the sales functions in our organisation, and we're actually finding, like I said, a good mix now of people. But no shock horror, we have more females in the marketing team than we do in the sales team, and than we do in the technical team. I think tech delivery is the worst area, actually.
You mentioned there, acquisition of new customers, and you've expanded in marketing. And I didn't know that much about you guys when you came on. How are you actually going to market, and how are you actually making people aware of your company, your services? Because great that you won the award, fantastic. Obviously, that's great recognition. But are your sellers going out and doing new business, or is it marketing putting out events and webinars and attracting customers that way, or at least the interest?
Yeah, so for us, and again, this is what we advise people in part of our offering for the people for organisations that choose to work with us, is we're again data driven for us. So we create content, so content led. So our belief on this, again, it worked for us, it works for our customers who engage in the program we have to help them. Funny enough, just call it Vuzion Grow to help you grow your business. It took us ages to come up with that name. It's about content. People want stuff for free, right? We all like having free things and winning things. So give out snippets of your crown jewels, i.e. a hint and a tip. How do I? Here's something we did really good for someone yesterday. I'm not going to tell you all the details, but here's an example of it. So running small webinars, white papers, data sheets, that kind of stuff. And I know, again, something that you use yourself, Mark. But
we do that.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. Right, our biggest generation of lead source that we had ever was from a technical blog that a technical person wrote that had no sales or marketing involvement whatsoever.
Really?
And it was, how do I reduce the amount of times I get prompted for like a second I have to log in or enter my password? So it was how to reduce that. Why? Well, because that's useful for everyone. Right? We all get annoyed with how many times you have to put in a password and authenticate twice. We understand why it's needed, but it's frustrating. So we had thousands of people interact with that blog and piece of content. So we created another piece of content, more advanced bits of information, gave some more hints and tips in that area, that kind of stuff. So it's content led. Another really popular one for us at the moment is Microsoft Azure, being quite a complex cloud platform, very comprehensive. Lots of people don't understand all of the bits, neither do we, but we're pretty good in certain areas. So we get some hints and tips on that, package up some things, and can help people ultimately build out a practice to deliver repeatable, profitable services using that platform. So we've got a white paper on that, and funny enough, really, really popular download at the moment, and we use that. So inbound leads. So to simplify my answer, we expand our business by generating inbound leading inquiries led from content that we've created from the subject matter experts that we have at our disposal. Sorry. So.
Yeah, and then you get your sales guys to follow up those leads and see if they can bring it to an opportunity.
Yeah. Well, we actually get marketing initially to qualify, because again, my view is that we were happy to create that content. We've made it available, maybe gated it so we get an email address, etc. What we don't want is people phoning up that person, harassing them for the rest of their life about, what do you need and what do you get. So the first thing we do is more of a soft approach. Thanks for downloading. Did you get what you need? Do you need anything from us? Can we help you in any way, shape, or form?
Yeah.
And we try that a few times, and then we go, great, thanks. We'll leave you in what we class as a nurture part at that point. We'll maybe send some newsletters. You can opt out, etc. So it's quite a soft approach, and we like to wait until they're ready to speak to us. Now, we can't be that soft, so we still do need to actually pick up the phone and say, look, was it of interest? What do you currently do? But it's absolutely not an area that I want to expand out. I prefer people coming to us saying, we like what you're doing and we think we need your help. Let's have an open and nice conversation around, are we the right partner for you?
I think I totally agree with that method, Craig. It's something that we do ourselves, and I don't know about you, but I don't want to be harassed by cold callers and trying to flog me stuff. I'd rather download some content, be like a consumer, look if I like it, and then hopefully make my own engagement if I do. So 100% agree with that. My last question for you, Craig. I'm not saying you're going to be Mystic Meg, but what's your predictions of the trends that's going to happen in 2021 for the IT channel?
So again, looking at the data we've got, we see an even bigger increase of cloud services, so more things going into subscription. That's not a shock horror there. There's a huge interest at the moment in expanding those offerings, so making them even deeper with the customer. Examples there for us, Windows Virtual Desktop is a huge offering. I generally think we'll see a lot more mergers and acquisitions, particularly from telco resellers and IT VARs, or even managed service providers joining up. We've seen a lot of that last year, so I think more of that next year.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
there is going to be people who don't survive, the people who don't adapt to move into these models fast, I generally think will struggle. A lot of the cloud services are growing massively. It's got to be in service providers. So I think more services, deeper services for customers. And it needs to be easily turn on and offable. Yeah. British gas from back in the day. But we can't be, as much as we'd like to, you can't sign customers into 5-year static contract. We need to be able to support organisations through the global pandemic we're in. And actually, we should be doing this anyway, right? Yes, we need to commit for some things to protect our businesses and our investments. You can't sell a managed service contract for a day, for example, and recruit the people to support it, and then they will disappear. But make sure we've got to have flexibility in there, continual improvement in there. So I think for me, the biggest change is where we'll make more money in IT next year within the channel is around having really strong, robust service delivery, continual improvement services as part of our managed services. And from a technology standpoint, it's voice. The convergence of voice using Teams, Zoom, again, all these other technologies with traditional telco systems is massive. Being able to join up for a customer, voice, telecommunications, contact center, IT, and all of this together in one is in demand.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're seeing a huge increase in voice services and more comprehensive, inclusive managed services. So look after more things for the customer, but have some flexibility in those contracts. They're the pieces that I think the big bets for us. Not very exciting, but actually there's a lot of people not doing that at the moment.
Yeah, brilliant. Craig, you've been a fantastic guest. Thanks so much for your time.